We've been trying to understand and define what the state is. We looked at a few definitions before, but in this short video I'm going to cover 3 points which we find in social science literature. Where it is claimed that those 3 elements or 3 points should include in any definition of the state. Okay, so we're just going to look at those and maybe reflect a bit on those 3 points. The first point, states, among other things, is a set of institutions. In that sense, we can say that state itself is it's a set of institutions. It means state is an institution in that sense itself, where this institution is constituted by a set of institutions. So a state is an institution. It is constituted by a set of institutions, and these institutions are manned by its own personnel, the state's personnel. So it has institution and it has personnel who run those institutions. So these are 2 important things. So to have a state, you have to have certain set of institutions, because state is itself an institution, and you need people to man those institutions. Those institutions don't run themselves. And the most important institution of the state, and that's why we can say that it is, you can't imagine a state without that, or institutions that are related to means of violence and means of coercion. And I guess one of the things which differentiates modern state from other pre-modern and medieval states is that modern state try to monopolize the means of violence and the means of coercion. So monopoly on violence and monopoly on coercion is one of the important defining or distinguishing characteristics of the modern state. So in my own mind, I mean, other people might disagree with me. Generally, I'm not saying not any of pre-modern states did that. I mean, probably pre-modern states, some of pre-modern states which were harbinger of the modern state did try to monopolize. But I think generally I would differentiate modern state from all other forms of state through this very important characteristics. So I will say that all states, whether modern or pre-modern, they are essentially constituted by institutions which deal with the means of violence and means of coercion. And what differentiates modern state from all other states is that modern state, it's essential for modern state to monopolize means of violence and coercion. And if it can't, then it's to that extent it's not a successful modern state. And the institutions of the states which deal with the means of violence and coercion are many, but the main ones are those related to violence. All include, obviously, police is very important, and all the related in, you know, and the defense forces in general. Defense forces, and your spy agencies and all those related to it. And in the means of coercion, I don't know. The means of coercion, obviously, law is important. Justice system is important. Prison, but also, the soft means like education system will come into that. Public opinion will come into that. Press will, I think, come into that. I don't think generally coercion is defined broadly in such a broad way, but I will include that. So that's the first institution. The second set of institutions, so these institutions which form the means of violence and coercion, they are located, they are bounded by a territory. So at least for modern state, territory is very important. So you could say, so you can say that without territory, population related to it, there can't be any state. So that would be true for any state, but modern state, I think, is more a bounded territory in the sense that it delimits its territory in a way in which, and so precisely that didn't exist necessarily in all other states, forms of states, and that's related to that state being a modern state being a nation state in a very specific modern sense. Okay, so that's the second. It has to have a territory and population and all those things related to it. And the third thing is that the state monopolizes lawmaking or rule making within that territory. Rule making can be actual, like legal rules, but it can also be other sort of rules and norms, etc. So without law, there can't be any state, because without law, you won't have, means of violence and coercion. I should have said that when we talk about means of violence and coercion, we should talk about legitimate means of violence, because if those means of violence doesn't have legitimacy, then I don't think you can have a stable state. But that might be a contentious point. So I think we'll stop here. So this gives us some basis for understanding the state in general, and specifically the modern state. Okay.